When we think about the future of manufacturing, our minds usually jump to the big stuff, right? We're talking sleek jet engines, life-saving medical implants, even satellites exploring the cosmos. But what if the secret to all these massive achievements wasn't big at all? What if it was hiding in something almost invisibly small? Okay, let's get into it.
Right now, we are in an era of just unbelievable ambition. Engineers are dreaming up systems that are more complex and demand tighter tolerances than ever. We're building machines that have to work in crazy temperatures, under insane pressure. We're really pushing the absolute limits of what materials can even do.
But here's the crazy part, the paradox of it all. The bigger and more complicated the project gets, the more everything depends on getting the tiniest, microscopic details perfect. A single hole, off by just a fraction of a degree, can cause a total, catastrophic failure. It turns out, true mastery happens down at the millimeter scale. It sounds so basic, doesn't it? Just, point a drill and go. But trust me, when you're working with a long, skinny drill bit and a block of hardened steel, it is anything but simple. So how in the world do you guarantee that hole is perfectly straight every single time?
Well, the answer comes from a small but mighty tool that honestly doesn't get nearly enough credit. So let's meet the unsung hero of precision manufacturing, the pilot drill.
So what is this thing? A pilot drill is basically a starter drill. Its only job is to create a perfect, shallow guide hole right where you need it. Think of it as creating a flawless path for the main drill, the big one that's going to do the deep work, making sure it stays perfectly on track and drills straight as an arrow. And to really get why this is so important, just picture this. Trying to drill a deep hole with a long, thin bit is kind of like trying to push a rope. Seriously. The second it hits the metal, it's going to want to bend, deflect, and walk all over the place. You have almost no control over where it ends up.
But a pilot hole? That changes the whole game. Suddenly you have this perfect, rigid channel, and that main drill bit stops acting like a wobbly rope and starts acting like a needle being guided perfectly through fabric. It literally has nowhere to go but straight down.
And this is where it gets really cool. That one tiny guide hole sets off a massive ripple effect. It creates 3 huge benefits that seriously impact the entire manufacturing process. Let's break them down. Okay, first and most obviously, you get pinpoint accuracy. That guide hole physically stops the longer drill from wandering off course. This is absolutely crucial when you're dealing with really tough materials or drilling super deep holes. We're talking depths of 8 times the drill's diameter or even more. The pilot hole just locks it in.
Second, and this is a big one for the bottom line, it extends the life of your tools. A good deep hole drill bit is a seriously sophisticated and, expensive piece of gear. By using a pilot hole, you take a ton of the stress and strain off that main drill. That means less wear, fewer broken bits, and real cost savings over time.
And third, the whole process just runs better. That little pilot hole becomes a perfect channel for 2 things. It lets coolant get right down to the cutting edge where it's needed, and it helps get all the little metal chips out of the way. Better cooling and chip removal means you can run your machines faster, you don't have to worry about overheating, and you get a much cleaner hole in the end. Okay, so we know why pilot drills are so important. But how do you actually use them the right way? Because getting the method down is just as critical as using the tool in the first place. And for that, there are a few golden rules. Here are the essentials. First, you're really only doing this for deep holes. Think 8 times the diameter or deeper. Second, and this is the one that surprises people, you actually want your pilot drill to be slightly oversized. Third, the angle of the pilot drill's tip has to be larger than the main drill's. And then, of course, you dial in your machine settings and make sure you get a clean finish.
Now, I know what you're thinking. An oversized hole? How does a bigger hole guide a smaller drill? It sounds totally backward. But, as one expert machinist put it, that tiny bit of extra space is absolutely critical. It gives the outer edges or the margins of the main drill a surface to ride against, guiding it perfectly straight, instead of having the whole thing get jammed up.
And that angle rule? It's non-negotiable. Get it right, with a larger pilot angle, and the very tip of your main drill engages the material first, centering itself for a nice smooth cut. But if you get it wrong, and the pilot angle is smaller, the sharp outer edges of the main drill slam into the workpiece first. That causes a ton of vibration and stress, and it's a super easy way to chip or just snap your expensive tool.
So let's zoom back out for a second. We've been deep in the weeds on our pretty specific technique. But why does this one little hole have such a massive impact? Well, because it's one of the foundational building blocks of the future.
This isn't just about making a better part in some machine shop.
This level of precision is what makes our modern world possible. Those complex coolant channels inside a jet engine blade, the perfectly placed holes in a surgical implant, the rock-solid structures of a satellite, all of it, every single one, depends on the ability to drill a perfect hole.
And that really brings us to the main point here. We love to celebrate the big, flashy, disruptive ideas. But real, lasting innovation, it's almost always built on a solid foundation of mastering the fundamentals. Nailing the small details, like a simple pilot hole, is what actually makes the giant leaps possible.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other little invisible details are out there, quietly shaping our future? In manufacturing, or in any field really, what are the other pilot holes that we're using to build tomorrow?